Welcome to the continuation of reproduction. So far we have looked at introduction and asexual reproduction. In this video we're going to start sexual reproduction, and we're going to start with sexual reproduction in plants. In the next two videos we're going to take a look at sexual reproduction in animals. So the sexual organs of plants are flowers. So flowers are the ones that are responsible for reproduction in plants. So this is a flower. So the parts of the flower can be divided into two groups. Okay, of course maybe we can say three groups. Okay, so the first group are called stamens, and these stamens are the male parts of the flower. Male parts of the flower, and they are made of two parts: the filament, this one, and this top part here, these ones which are like balls, called anther. Okay, so the function of the filament is to hold the anther here, and also to provide nutrients to the anther. Okay, then the function of the anther is it contains what are called pollen sacs. These pollen sacs are small sacs that have what are called pollen grains. These pollen grains are the ones that are actually responsible for the production in plants. Okay, they are the ones that participate in fertilization, the meeting of the male and the female gametes. Okay, so then other than the stamens, we have the female parts of the flower. The female parts are called carpel. Okay, so what makes up the carpel are these four parts. Okay, I'll start with the top one called stigma. So the stigma is this part. Okay, so the function of the stigma is it receives pollen grains. Okay, so pollen grains from the anther can come and they will be deposited here. Okay, so that is its function, to receive pollen grains. Okay, then after the stigma we have the style. So the style is this part. Of course, just like the filament, it holds the stigma in place, and also it acts as a tube through which pollen grains, as we're going to learn later, are going to pass, or they are going to be connected to the other female parts of the flower. Okay, other than the style we have the ovary. So the ovary is this part. The job of the ovary is to contain the ovule. Okay, the ovule is this other part which actually contains the female gametes, the eggs that are going to participate in fertilization. Okay, so other than the male parts and the female parts, we have other parts of the flower which are not male or female. Okay, these include the petals. So the petals are this structure here. So the petal has a role in attracting insects and animals. They are bright colored, and that attracts insects and animals. Why do flowers need insects and animals? For flowers to do fertilization, or to make sure that these anthers come here, they need animals and plants, and also maybe other agents like wind. But animals and plants are attracted by these petals. Okay, other than the petals, we have this part here called sepal, this and this. So the function of the sepals is when a flower is small, it's in the bud stage, like that's when it has just it has started growing. These sepals protect the flower, making sure that it does not dry up. Okay, and also protects the sepals, the flower, from insects and other things that may end up harming the flower. Then after that we have the receptacle, this part here. The receptacle holds the most of these flower parts. Okay, then we have this part here called the pedicel, or the flower stalk. So this one is the one that holds the entire flower. So let's just go through again what I'm from explaining. So functions of flower parts. We're going to start with the pedicel or flower stalk, which I said links the flower to the stem and conducts water, nutrients, and hormones between these two parts. Of course, I just mentioned the part of linking the flower to the stem, but of course that's also where water, nutrients, and hormones pass through. Then receptacle, these are the swollen end of the pedicel where other parts of the flower are attached. The sepals are leaf-like structures that enclose the flower in the bud stage and protect it from drying up and damage by pests and harsh weather conditions. Next, petals. So these are structures that are brightly colored and scented in insect-pollinated flowers to attract insects. So just an emphasis, these are bright colored and scented mainly in insect-pollinated flowers. Stigma. So this is the part that where pollen grains are deposited during pollination. Star. This holds the stigma in position and links it to the ovary. It is also used as a passage for the pollen grain on its way from the stigma to the ovary through the pollen tube, like I explained. Then the filament supports the anther and supplies it with water and nutrients. So next is an ovary, which is just a part that makes and contains ovules. It becomes the fruit after fertilization. So when you're eating the fruit, before fertilization it was just an ovary. Then an ovule contains female gametes and they develop into seeds after fertilization. Okay, so ovule becomes a seed, ovary becomes a fruit. So each ovule has an embryo sac containing 8 haploid nuclei. It contains 8 haploid nuclei. Okay, so those who have done genetics, haploid, we know what it means. It means it contains a single chromosome for a given characteristic. So it does 8 haploid nuclei. Nuclei is plural for nucleus. So this is how the inside of the ovule looks like. So as you can see, we have 8 nuclei here. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, so each nuclei contains a single chromosome for a given characteristic. Okay, so this bottom 3 nuclei, the first one is called, the middle one is called the egg cell. Then these others are cyanids. Okay, then we also have these 2 polar nuclei, which are very important in fertilization. Okay, then we have these 3 antipodal cells. Okay, so we're going to understand how these 2 and this one are involved, or the role they play during fertilization. So next is the anther, which is a structure made of pollen sacs where pollen grains are made and stored. Okay, so if we a pollen grain is very important for reproduction. So just like the way we looked at the ovule, let's take a look at the structure of a pollen grain. So a pollen grain has this outer membrane called the exine. Then it has also the inner membrane called the intine. Then inside here there is an opening called aperture. Then inside there are these 2 nuclei. Okay, so each has got a role in making sure that fertilization occurs. Okay, so this is called pollen tube nucleus. So it makes sure that a pollen tube is formed from the pollen grain. You're going to understand the importance of the pollen tube when we zoom in into how fertilization occurs. Then we have this generative nucleus, which does the actual fertilization. Okay, so we just keep this in mind. We're going to see how these 2 make sure that fertilization occurs. So pollination. So this is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma on the same plant or different plant of the same species. Okay, so when pollen grains move from the anther to the stigma, we call that as pollination. They can move from the anther of plant A to the stigma of plant A, or from the anther of plant A to the stigma of another plant, plant B. Okay, whatever the case, is pollination. Okay, so now because we have seen that the pollen grains can move from the anther of plant A to stigma of plant A and anther of plant A to stigma of plant B, there are basically two types of pollination. There is self-pollination and cross-pollination. So self-pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma on the same plant. So this is where pollen grains move from the anther of plant A to the stigma of plant A. But when it moves to plant B, that's cross-pollination, which is defined as the transfer of pollen grains from an anther present on a given plant to a stigma on another plant of the same species. So agents of pollination include mainly insects and wind. So agents of pollinations are things that make pollination to occur. Okay, so mainly it's insects and wind. Okay, an insect can go on a flower, then in the process it can step on an anther, and the pollen grain can stick to the insect. As it is about to move away from the flower, the pollen grain can fall on a stigma of that plant or of another plant of the same species. Insect pollinated flowers are also called entomophilous flowers, while wind pollinated flowers are also called anemophilous flowers. So these are just terminologies. So now we have this table which shows the difference between insect pollinated flowers and wind pollinated flowers. So the petals of insect pollinated flowers have brightly colored, scented, large, and have nectaries. Okay, nectaries are sweet juices which insects and animals visit. That makes the insects visit a given flower. Okay, so as insects are visiting to enjoy that nectar, when they're about to move away, they end up doing pollination. Well, on the other hand, wind pollinated flowers are dull colored, non-scented, small, and have no nectaries. Anthers also are small, firm, and enclosed within petals for insect pollinated flowers. Well, for wind pollinated flowers, they are large, they are pendulous and exposed. Why? So that when wind blows, it should push or it should blow off these pollen grains that are on the anthers. Next are filaments. So for insect pollinated flowers, the filaments are short and firm. Or for the wind pollinated flowers, they are long and dangling outside the flower. Okay, so they dangle outside the flower so that as the wind is blowing, the pollen grains can also be blown so that they can go to the stigma of the same plant or of another plant. Then the stigmas for the insect pollinated flowers are short, firm, lobed, and enclosed in petals to ensure insects brush against them. Well, for the wind pollinated flowers, they are long, feathery, and exposed so as to easily trap pollen grains from air. Finally, the pollen grains themselves. For the insect pollinated flowers, they are large, they are few, and they are sticky, so that when insects visit the flower, they can stick to the body of the insect. Well, for the wind pollinated flowers, they are small, they are many, and they are very smooth, so that they can easily be scattered away when wind blows. So now we go to the actual reproduction. Okay, so what happens? So let's say an insect or wind has pushed a pollen grain from the anther to the stigma. What happens next? Okay, So what's going to happen is the pollen grain is going to absorb the water on the stigma. Okay, when it absorbs the water, it's going to grow. When it grows, remember inside the pollen grain there are two nucleus. There is the generative and the pollen tube nucleus. So this pollen tube nucleus is going to grow the pollen tube. Okay, there will be a tube that will come from the pollen grain that will start going inside till it reaches the ovule. Okay, so it will come like this. It will start moving around the ovule looking for what is called a micropyle. A micropyle is an opening on the ovule that allows some substances to go inside the ovule. Okay, so it will move looking for the micropyle, and when it finds the micropyle, it's going to break. Okay, so to help you just put everything in perspective, let me bring up other pictures. So these are the two nucleus in the pollen grain, the generative and the pollen tube nucleus. So this is the one that's going to develop a tube that is going to go down in the style. Okay, then remember in the ovule here there are these cells. Okay, there are 8, but the ones that are going to participate in fertilization is this one egg cell and these two polar nuclei. Remember, they are all haploid, that they have a single chromosome for each characteristic. So this is what I'm from painting. Okay, so of the pollen grain here, which has developed the pollen tube. So this pollen tube has grown, and when it reaches here, the tube nucleus, the one that makes the pollen tube to grow, it's going to degenerate. So when it breaks, degenerates, what's going to happen? By the way, this is the micropyle where the tube nucleus reaches. Okay, so the second the second nuclei, the generative nucleus is going to be sent. Okay, so these generative nucleus that are going to be sent, they are going to be 2. Okay, so these are the ones I'm talking about that are on their journey to the inside of the ovule. Okay, so once they go inside the ovule, let me bring another picture to just help in visualizing what's going to happen. So once it gets inside this ovule, so let's shift our attention to here. So what's going to happen is one nucleus is going to meet with the egg cell. Okay, so one nucleus is going to meet with the egg cell. Well, the other nucleus is going to meet with these two polar nuclei. So it's like 2 fertilization occur in this part at the same time, and this process, or this process is called double fertilization. Okay, so we have got one nucleus which is going to react with this haploid egg cell, and another nucleus which is going to react with these 2 polar nuclei. Okay, so this the fusion or the meeting of the egg cell and one nucleus is going to result into a diploid number. Okay, that is the male chromosome and the female chromosome are going to be combined. So the offspring is going to have both the characteristics from the male and the characteristics from the female, hence diploid number, meaning that it has 2 characteristics, 2 chromosomes for a given characteristic. Okay, but the other nucleus which is going to meet with these 2 polar nuclei is going to result in what is called a triploid. Okay, a triploid. So a triploid means that it has 3 characteristics. So 3 chromosomes, one coming from the male nucleus and the other one from one of these polar nucleus, and another one from another polar nucleus. So each of them is going to contribute, and the nucleus from the male is also going to contribute. The result is 3 chromosome, meaning triploid. So after fertilization, the ovule develops into a seed, like I said, and the ovary develops into a fruit. Then going back to the double fertilization, the first generative nucleus meets with the first male nucleus meets with the egg cell. Okay, so these are the ones that are going to develop into an embryo. Okay, they'll form a zygote and develop into an embryo. Okay, then the other nucleus and those two polar nucleus, when they meet, they are going to develop into an endosperm for endospermic plants. Okay, so the structure of the seed, we know it. Then of the fruit, we haven't discussed it. So because of that, we can just take a look at some parts that makes up the fruit. Okay, so this center part is the seed. Then after the seed, we have this part here called the funicle. Then atop the funicle, there's the placenta. Okay, so just above the seed, we have this part which is called the endocarp. Then just above the endocarp, we have the mesocarp, and on the outer part, we have the epicarp. Three of them are collectively called the pericarp. So to end this video, we're going to take a look at fruit and seed dispersal, which just refers to the scattering of fruits or seeds from the parent plant to other places. The advantages of seed dispersal are: 1, it reduces competition for light, space, gases, and nutrients. So if seeds are scattered on the same place, when plants develop, they can compete for light, for water, for nutrients. So but if they are dispersed far apart, then that competition is reduced. It allows plants to colonize new areas. So if this given plant is not in a given certain area, so if those seeds can be thrown, can be scattered to those new areas, then that given plant can colonize that given area. It reduces the chances of extinction in case the plants in one location are destroyed. So we look at different methods of dispersal. We look also at the agents of dispersal, which are things that make a given method of dispersal possible. We're also going to take a look at the characteristics of these plants that allow them to be dispersed in a given way. So animal dispersed seeds have the following characteristics. First, they have presence of hooks to cling the fur of animals, e.g. blackjacks, also called, or the scientific name is Biden's pilosa. Okay, so these, for example, the blackjacks, as a good example, they have got hooks which makes them cling to the fur of animals. Also, these hooks are irritating to animals. Okay, because they are irritating, animals can react, and in the process they can shake them off. Okay, so if this animal is on this point, then these seeds these seeds get or stick to this animal because of the hooks. If the animal is going away from that given location, and it is because of the irritation, it is trying to remove whatever is causing the irritation, which happens to be seeds, these seeds can be falling, and in the process they are being dispersed. So these are the blackjack that I'm talking about. As you can see, they have these hooks here. Okay, so these hooks can cling to animals. Other features include they are succulent or juicy. They have succulent or juicy mesocarps to attract and reward animals. Okay, so for example, mangoes. You get a mango, you eat it, it's sweet, you are going, then at some point you throw the seed somewhere, you have dispersed that mango. Okay, also they are brightly colored, they have brightly colored epicarps to attract animals to fruits, especially when ripe. Like mango, normally it's green, but you know, when it ripes it changes color, so that you know that that is ready for eating. And when you do that, you are helping in dispersal. Okay, seeds have hard testers that are resistant to digestive enzymes found in the guts of animals. So for example, guavas, as you are eating, we eat together with seeds. Okay, so as you are eating with seeds, those seeds are very hard because of their testers. They cannot be broken down by enzymes. Okay, so when you go to help yourself, you throw them. In the process, you are encouraging dispersal. Okay, they also have scented fruits to animals, e.g. oranges. Okay, just because of that scent, it attracts animals. They eat the orange, they disperse it in the process. Then we go to wind dispersed fruits. So wind dispersed seeds have the following characteristics. First, they have parachute of hairs, which are formed from sepals after fertilization, which causes the fruit to float, thereby delaying landing and encouraging dispersal in the process. Okay, as you can see, so when wind blows, their seeds or the seeds of this animal have parachutes, which are going to take them very far from the parent seed, the parent plant. Also, they have wing-like structures that cause the fruit to float, thereby delaying landing and encouraging dispersal. An example of a seed that has wing-like structures is the sycamore seeds. So as you can see, it's like this. So these are the wing-like structures that encourages wind dispersal. Then we have water dispersed fruits. So water dispersed fruits have fibrous pericarps that enable them to float in water, e.g. coconut. Let's take a look at the picture of a coconut. So as you can see, it has fibers, these fibers, which helps it to float in water, and in the process is going to be dispersed by water. Finally, we have self-dispersed fruits, also called explosive mechanism of dispersal. Okay, so these ones are fruit rows that develop tension and split to scatter seeds when dry. So these ones, the fruit rows, as they are drying, they develop tension and they just scatter the seeds, in the process throwing the seeds away from them. So this mechanism of dispersal is common in regions such as beans. Okay, so let's just take a look at a picture. Okay, so this is how they are. Okay, so when they get dry, they are going to throw the seeds a bit away from where they are. So this is the characteristic of self-dispersed fruits. So this marks the end of second part of reproduction. Happy